Well, we haven't done this in a while. It's time to call out our friends at SouthShore12 once again for misplaced priorities. Now, you'll see, you're like, oh, this is the lead story. They're going to cover this person arrested for raping a 12-year-old girl. And it was the first story, but they barely actually spent any time covering it. So we're going to just play the little brief story that they have because they only covered it for 31 seconds.
Under arrest. Police say the Uniondale man sexually abused and raped a teenager. Detectives say it started in 2011
disgusting.
when the girl was 12, and they say it went on for 4 years. Police say Jose Wilfredo Vasquez Cardozo was a church leader and security guard at Iglesia Cristiana Unida in Hempstead when the abuse happened. He's now a member of a church in Amityville. Detectives say there could be more victims, and they're asking you to call police.
So there you go. This is a big story. You'd think, let's go to Hempstead. Let's speak to the people in the community about how they feel about this. But no, they never did. They never did. What would they rather cover? Well, they'd rather cover this. Neighbors of suspected Gilgo killer in Massapequa Park. We got to spend 2 minutes and 12 seconds on this. They're upset because people are driving by and it's a busier neighborhood. So, yeah, I mean, this is what I mean about these. That's why I call them snobs, because literally, if there's one little thing that's out of place in their little town, perfect little town, and we all know how perfect Massapequa Park likes to act, hey, they're gonna throw a fit, and of course, SouthShore12 is gonna be there to cover it. And let's take a look and see what the snobs have to say.
Year anniversary of Rex Heuermann's arrest is this weekend, and this small neighborhood in Massapequa Park may be seeing increased foot traffic again. News 12's crime reporter Krista McNally is there.
How would you like to be in Mineola? We get to deal with increased homeless people and EDPs in our community. How would you like to deal with that?
With all the details. Hi, Krista.
Good evening. That's right. After two major multi-department police investigations that happened here at Rex Heuermann's home on First Avenue, curious passersby is something neighbors say has been a constant since they found out they live near the suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer.
Woe is
It used to be
me.
nice and quiet. Rarely see somebody walking around. Now it's constant movement all around. People just want to look.
Etienne de Villiers, the next-door neighbor of the suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer, says the small red home on First Avenue has turned into a place where people come just to get a glimpse of where Rex Heuermann lived.
People come taking pictures, and all of a sudden, people are always walking their dogs here, and now the bicycle riders. So it's, the traffic is like increased like tenfold.
Yeah, these people, I'm telling you, you cannot make this stuff up. This, my friends, is considered a news story.
Villiers exclusively invited News 12 into his backyard to take a look at the fence between him and Heuermann. That is where he says Rex had been staring at his wife, reportedly as she sunbathed when they first moved in.
The little incident that happened with us and my wife was 30 years ago, and I thought back then that, it had nothing to do with this.
Initially, Heuermann was charged in the death of 3 women. That has expanded to 6, and he is a suspect in a 7th. At the time of the second search of his home in May, this is what his other immediate neighbor had to say.
I hope they got all the proof they need, though.
Did you know Rex at all as an
Oh, yeah. 20 years.
And what was he like?
He was a normal guy,
Normal guy, serial killer, but
you never know.
Etienne is concerned that the quiet of his neighborhood may be gone for good.
It's been crazy because just when you think it's going to end, it doesn't.
Heuermann has pled not guilty to the charges he is facing.
you know what? I'll gladly live next to that house. If it means getting out of Mineola, all right? These people are so spoiled. I'll gladly live on either side of that house than deal with the crap that I have to deal with in Mineola on a freaking daily basis. It just shows you how spoiled these people are. They are incredibly spoiled in their own little bubble, in their own little enclave that everybody wants to be in, because we know how great the South Shore is. And, they get all the attention while we get all the problems. You know what I mean? I mean, really. And you know that if this serial killer lived in Mineola, this would have been, they would have covered it, and then it would have been forgotten because nobody cares about Mineola. But because it happened in Massapequa Park, well, that's That's front page news. So, barely they cover this. This is what they spend their time on, instead of covering actually important news. And they also covered this, barely covered this, and granted, I wouldn't say this is front page news, but there was a bird that actually hit the News 12
we were
studio.
When it came crashing into our Bethpage studio.
You know why? Because they're probably fed up with you snobs. That's probably why the bird crashed into your window. The birds had it with you, The wildlife's had it with you. That's why. Oh, we're not done yet. They're covering more BS. There's another BS story here that they covered. Oh, and almost a minute for the shootout for soldiers in Massapequa Park. How many times? That must be like their favorite town, Massapequa Park. It must be an absolutely favorite town because they love to go there. All right? And this benefit concert to expand Memorial. Again, another one of these stories that...
leaving to head in.
They're in Smithtown, which is another sort of enclave. And I know this is, what happened in 9/11 was horrible and all, but again, you see the deal. They cover news that affects white people, especially in privileged upper middle class to upper class neighborhoods on the South Shore 12. They don't care about the island's mixed communities. They're ignoring like a huge chunk of the population on Long Island. How do they get away with this? Well, it's just they keep getting away with it. Meanwhile, stuff that happens in our communities, barely covered. Hicksville man arrested for striking man with a knife over a parking dispute in Franklin Square. Sorry, we don't care about that.
Parking dispute went
south in the middle of the island. We don't care.
Police tell us the owner of OK Gas Station on New Hyde Park Road got into an argument with an employee of a business nearby regarding parking vehicles on his property. We're told that things escalated, and the gas station owner, 58-year-old Daljit Singh, struck the other man with a small knife on his neck and arm. The victim was taken to the hospital. Singh is now facing assault and weapons.
That's the kind of stuff we get to deal with in the middle of the island. Of course, if something isn't right on the South Shore, we know we're going to. I'm surprised they actually did not cover this for very long. But, Budget Motel Inn on Sunrise Highway in Massapequa is... Actually, no, this is Carmen Mill Road, actually. Will be demolished by June 2025 because there's been crime there. Of course, it's got to be safe for everybody in Massapequa. We have these kinds of places all over the middle of the island. And nobody, without like the Pines Motor Lodge in Westbury. I mean, nobody shuts that place down. There's not even an attempt to shut it down. Because they need somewhere to put the poop. And of course, it's us. Not those people in Massapequa. They're more important because, again, they got the white skin and the finance background. So they get to avoid all that. What else do we got here? Another one they barely covered. Elmont man served 25 years to life in prison after admitting to fatally strangling a woman and leaving her body next to a dumpster. And again, this was
for the Elmont man who admitted to
barely covered.
strangling
25
a woman
seconds.
and
Again,
leaving her
this is
body
important news, but no, sorry, we're not going to cover that.
Next to a dumpster. It happened on Valentine's Day last year in South Hempstead. 26-year-old Andrew Avila admitted to killing Rebecca Carlson after an argument over sex became violent. The two had met online and agreed to an in-person meetup. Her body was found a few hours.
Yes, this is what happened. This is what happened here. Yep. This is the kind of stuff, again, middle of the island, we don't care. We don't care. We'll talk about Massapequa Park every day. The same thing over and over again, but if something happens in the middle of the island, we don't really care. It doesn't affect our kind. So, yeah, they don't really care. That's the point. The only thing that they actually did cover, they only covered one story today properly. Only one story that they cover properly, and that's this. They only they covered this properly. They covered this because it involved... generally, if something involves a police officer, they'll cover it. And they could cover this actually here.
His fate after he admitted to trying to kill a Suffolk County police officer. News 12's Cecilia Dowd has the story.
Janelle Funderburk was sentenced to 25 years to life
for the attempted murder of Suffolk County police officer Michael LaFosse.
To be quite honest with you, that he's not dead is a miracle. He was shot through his pelvis.
Last May in Coram, Funderburk, who has a criminal history, ran from LaFosse and fired 2 rounds.
Another deal in the middle of the island. This is what happens in Coram.
Fellow officers are credited with saving his life.
That a 9mm bullet twisted, turned, and ripped through all that tissue, and he didn't bleed out at the scene. It's a miracle. It really, really is.
Officer LaFosse spoke at the sentencing and said, "I was just trying to do my job, but you were trying to kill me."
There is an epidemic of violence against police officers in this country.
For him to say that I can't play with my daughter, I have to tell her, I'm sorry, Daddy can't pick you up today because Daddy's not physically able to. Yeah. That's awful.
The judge told Funderburk, "If I were to find one redeeming quality in your life, and there's only one, it's the inability to hit your target." The judge called the defendant an absolute menace to society. Funderburk spoke briefly and said he was sorry for his actions. This woman spoke on behalf of Funderburk's mom, who stood with her.
She would like to take some accountability because she knew what was happening with her son. She should have got him some help. So all the people who know Janelle knows he would not purposely harm or hurt anyone.
She said Funderburk is schizophrenic and has an opioid addiction, and also said bail reform failed him. Officer LaFosse, whose leg is partially paralyzed, and his wife are expecting a second child soon. LaFosse said he hopes Funderburk spends the rest of his life behind bars. Reporting from Riverhead, Cecilia Dowd, News 12, Long Island.
So yeah, pretty heinous crime right there. That's the only thing they actually covered properly today. And at least justice is served, and this dangerous person is now behind bars where they will stay for the rest of their life, or at least that's where they should be staying for the rest of their lives. So, yeah, there you go. So one story they can one out of, but a whole lot of other stuff that they wasted time on. And they should have really covered some important stuff. And I'm sure that if we go on over to the Daily Voice here, we'll see that there's some stuff they didn't even bother covering here. Prop money. Here we go, man. It's at Selden 7-Eleven. Oh, that's middle of the island, too. Didn't even cover that. Somebody was using prop money. Alert for a missing Lindenhurst teen. Didn't cover that either. They never cover missing kids, and she's from the South Shore, but it could be North Lindenhurst. A whole bunch of stuff that they just don't feel like covering here. I'm not even gonna bother with all of it. It just. I'm sorry, but you cover something like this. Really, I mean, this is TV for snobs. Who the hell cares about Massapequa Park? People complaining about people driving by a house and walking. Deal with some real problems. Come to Mineola. There are a whole bunch of communities that even have it worse than Mineola. Go to Hempstead or Wyandanch or Brentwood. See what those people go through on a day-to-day basis. These people are spoiled brats.